no one had seen me over the summer. No one knew what I was doing. And the next time they see me, it's walking into school, and they're all going, "Is that Bruno? Is that Ian Brown?"
Welcome to episode 1 of the Session Recall podcast. My name is John Conn, and today I'm joined as ever, well, I will be joined again by Mr. Nicholas Brine. Say hi, Nick.
Hi.
So what I want to talk about today really is just, Nick, how did you really get started in this? How did you really get started in the industry, working as a recording engineer, leading on to being a producer?
Yeah, so 30 years ago, very long time ago now, I was still at school doing my GCSEs, and one afternoon I was wandering down Monmouth High Street, and I bumped into a friend of mine, Darren Gaylor, who I used to go to gigs with and was also a fellow musician, and we'd played together. And he'd taken a job at Rockfield a couple of years earlier, but he was leaving to go to the Guitar Institute in London, and he said to me, "There's going to be a vacancy at Rockfield, and I think you'd really enjoy the job, and I think you'd be really good at it." So I hadn't really thought about that. My plan was to finish my exams, go to sixth form, and then go on to uni. But I said, yeah, sounds good. I mean, growing up in Monmouth, everybody knows about Rockfield. You regularly see all the bands walking around the high street, and you knew this studio was there. And because I had a massive passion for music as well and was in bands, obviously Rockfield was this amazing place that we never got to go to growing up, but we all knew about. So he said, all right, I'll sort it out then. So he got me an interview for the Friday afternoon, and I finished my last GCSE on the Friday. And then my dad picked me up and took me over to Rockfield. My dad knew the guys over there because he had the local taxi firm in Monmouth. So he used to drive the likes of Robert Plant around in his taxi. So they knew my dad, and my mum worked for a kind of boutique clothing store in town, which was kind of linked to the studios as well. So they all knew my family, they all knew my mum. So I went for this interview, and I can still remember the first time we drove up the drive. I'd had this image in my head of this big kind of estate house or something, looking really posh and so first thing that struck me was it wasn't like I had in my head at all. It was just this farm, kind of these old barns and all that kind of thing. So I can still remember driving up with my dad. And we drove into the courtyard, and Anne came and met us. And then she said, "Oh, Kingsley's in the office, so in you go." So in I went. Can remember first thing, covered in dog hair, covered in dust, which it is has been every day for the last 30 years. And
hasn't changed,
wouldn't have it any other way. And there's Kingsley sat in his chair. He had this racing green V-neck jumper on, which I still think he has now because he doesn't often change his clothes. And it was covered in holes and porridge. So I remember this thinking, right, okay, this is this kind of weird-looking office with this guy, Kingsley. And, he's covered in porridge and got holes in his jumpers. So next thing, the interview starts. And when I say interview, it wasn't really an interview, John. It was like he just talked at me for 40 minutes. He just talked at me, told me how rubbish the music business was, not to get involved in music. Don't get involved in the music business. It's terrible. There's no money in it. Been doing this for over 30 years now. He had a special dislike of American producers. So I think they must have been going through a bit of a rough patch at that time, and maybe they'd had lots of American producers in who'd been giving him a lot of grief and a lot of hard times because, he was very negative about the whole thing. He said, go back to school, go to university, become an architect. So that was basically the whole interview. So I said nothing. I didn't confirm my name. He didn't ask me anything, what I was good at, if I liked music or anything. He just said to me, this is how the music business is. I know your family, so I know you're from a good family. We want to employ someone local. Music business is shit, so don't bother. But if when you get home you decide you want to do it, give me a call and you can start. And that was, I think... So by the time I got back in the car with my dad, and my dad said, how did that go? And I just said, I have no idea. And my dad just went, yep, that sounds about right. He says, what are you going to do? And I just said, well, I would do it. By the time I'd got home, I decided I was going to give it a go. I mean, my life had just taken this kind of quick turn. I mean, I still had all my info about my exams in my head, and all of a sudden I'm agreeing to this job. And so I got up Saturday morning, did my paper round. That was the last time I did that. And then Sunday got up and I had a Sunday job at a place called Homestar DIY. So I finished there. And then Monday morning, my dad took me down, and that was it. My first day at Rockfield Studios on the Monday morning. Literally finished exams Friday, started on the Monday.
So just for context, I mean, what year were we looking at there for when you started?
So 93. So this would have been June 93.
What I find amazing is the very first conversation, like the first session I worked with you, I think it was at Trademarks. And
Great
Kingsley
band,
said exactly the same thing. There's no money in music. We might as well give up. I've been doing this for hundreds of years and I've never made a penny.
Yeah.
And so we might as well close up shop tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that's been his regular story about recording studios, that they don't make any money, and but they're still going. They're the first residential, and they'll be the last. Still going, still as crazy as ever down there, but still just one of the most amazing places to make music in the world.
Yeah. So your first day at Rockfield, was it like an induction day? Did you have did you get shown the ropes, or were you straight in on a session?
Yeah, no induction, no ropes, no health and safety. Not that existed in 1993 anyway. But met Kingsley and lovely man called Gavin Christmas on the driveway. Gavin was the maintenance guy along with Otto, the legend. And met Kingsley. Kingsley handed me some keys and said, "Don't lose the keys, boy." So, which he's been saying to everyone for the last 30 years since I've been there. It's one of his things. Don't lose the keys, will you? Don't lose the keys. So he just handed me the keys and then said, "Off you go. Good luck." Gavin took me in the studio, and there was Simon Dawson, engineer, who would become a great mentor and kind of great friend for me. And so he was there, kind of explained to me just, do this, do that, some basic things I could do, make the tea, make the coffee, keep the place tidy, but just sit there, gave me a chair, sit there, take it all in. Any questions, just let me know. And that was it. And I had these keys to this amazing studio, and I was 16 years of age, and it was day one. And I didn't even know at that point what my job was. I didn't know what I'd got a job as. No one had told me, what it was. I kind of had an idea that it was a tape op stroke assistant, stroke T-boy, but no one had actually said anything. In
charge of the keys, Nick.
Yeah, I had the keys. Keys to the city.
And what was the first band that you were working on, or what was the first session that you worked on that first day?
So walked in, and as I said, Simon was there, and then he introduced me to the producer, and immediately I recognised the producer. It was a guy called Andy Wallace, legendary producer, mix engineer, and he'd just done Nevermind, so he was kind of legendary at that time and still is. But so he introduced me to him. He introduced me to the band, which was a band called Sepultura. And I knew all about Sepultura because my best mate at school, Stephen Fleetwood, was a massive Sepultura fan. So I'm thinking, right, here I am, day one. There's Andy Wallace, just done Nevermind. And there's Sepultura, who I know all about because my best mate is a massive fan of them. And they were brilliant, and they were all great. Andy, what a lovely man. He kind of looked after me that session, answered loads of questions. And obviously I was like a sponge, and I was nervous as well, but excited. I didn't have no fear at that age of 16. Had no idea how records were made or what was going on. But he took the time with me and was brilliant. And the band were great. We had a great summer hanging out with them, went out into town, showed them a lot of the local pubs, and kind of, they all took me into the session and had a great time.
So at the time, obviously this is early 90s, what were the average session lengths? What would you be expecting to kind of be doing? How long would the sessions be? So
back then, from talking to Simon, I was on a month with them guys, and I think they'd been in for a couple of weeks before that. So that kind of 6-week period seemed to be the norm, really. So bands would book 6, maybe 8 weeks. They might have done 4 weeks pre-production and rehearsals somewhere else, and then they'd go off to London for a couple of weeks afterwards to mix it. So generally the session's about 12 weeks long. with 6
Yeah.
to 8 weeks of that being in Rockfield or somewhere else. But yeah, and usually start to finish, bands would do the whole album there and then go off somewhere else to mix it. And that was kind of average, that 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Kind of session lengths we can only dream of nowadays. You do very, very few records that take that much time, that kind of 12-week period.
What was the next couple of sessions that you worked on after that?
So I did a couple of days here and there just to helping out, and actually helped with some building work for a few days after Sepultura left, which was putting in the booths down the side of the quadrangle studio and refitting the ceilings with Dave Charles. And it was at that point I got called over to the office because at that point I didn't have any idea how much money I was going to be paid. I hadn't even asked. I mean, I'd done it for free. It didn't matter, but I thought, maybe I'd get paid. And I remember Anne calling me over, I need your details so we can pay you some money. I was thinking, brilliant, there's money as well. But it didn't matter because as far as I was concerned, it was an apprenticeship. So I was on, Kingsley had put me on this apprenticeship. He said 12 months, you'll be an engineer at the end of it. It's great. So I was like, brilliant, go in, have this apprenticeship. I'm going to be trained engineer, and then I'll have this certificate. And I hadn't really thought about the money. So the money was £29 for the week, which a third of which went to my mum straight away for keep at home at the age of 16. I had to pay my way. So £10 it went to my mum. I had £19 left, which you could buy a lot with in them days, John. And yeah, so that was me. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter how much it was. I'd have done it for nothing really. And and then a few days of that, and then on to another session. Anne called me in and said, Simon would like you to come on the session with him in the Coach House Studios. And the session is going to be 6 weeks long, which seemed to be the norm. And it's going to be with the Stone Roses.
Was this Second Coming?
Second Coming session, yeah. So they'd obviously been at that album for a little while. Big fan of the band. Yeah. I was like, amazing. So straight from Sepultura to Stone Roses, a band that I loved. Because, I loved my rock music. I grew up listening to loads of rock music, going to rock gigs. Any guitar bands, basically. And then kind of got a bit lost with that kind of whole scene. And for me, those bands, the Stone Roses and all those other Manchester bands, were that bridge between what was cool and what was happening and the guitar music that I loved. So became a massive fan of theirs straight away, and they booked in for 6 weeks. That was how long we thought they were going to be there for.
How long was the session in total then? Was it 14 months?
Yeah, so for 14 months. They kept on adding like a couple of weeks on here, a couple of weeks on there. And in the end, Rockfield just went, you know what, just let us know when you're finished. So they just stopped booking anyone else in. Because it soon became clear we weren't going to get it finished in 6 weeks. They just kept on booking time on. But yeah, 14 months, which for me was amazing because there wasn't much work going on. We played a lot of football, spent a lot of time in the pub, and the studio was empty a lot of the time. So Simon took the time with me to just kind of mentor me and train me to how to produce an engineer, basically. So he had all this time, and he could have easily just gone home, spent time with his young family that he had at the time, or he could have gone to the pub with the guys, which we all did a bit of that, but he took a lot of time to go through everything, as did Paul Schroeder, the producer, because there was hours and hours of nothing happening. So Simon would give me manuals for all the equipment, say, read this one, show me how to splice the tapes, showed me what I needed to do every morning, get how to prep the studio, which I still find frustrating now that sisters don't prep the studios properly every morning, but it was a massive part of the job, making sure that was ready every morning for the band before they kicked off.
You're saying, obviously, I remember on the documentary they talk about the Stone. I think you talk about it, the Stone Roses popping off to Manchester on the weekends, and taking tapes with them.
Yeah. So that was when the record label were flying in from LA. So we couldn't play them anything. Everyone else would bugger off, and they'd come, and then it would be, what can we hear? We're like, nothing. There's no tapes. There's nothing. You can't hear. There's no band here. And then the weekends when they were away, what was great for me is Simon would say, look, studio's empty, the band are away, bring your band in. It's the only way you're going to get to become an engineer quickly, and fast track is to learn the studio, and the only way to learn the studio is really just to use it to its full potential. So my band were all massive Roses fans as well. So for them, it was like, they're getting to come in. They're on Rennie's drums. We got John's amps, Manny's bass amps. We set up. We're using the Roses gear. We'd spend the weekends there recording our own stuff, and I'd just be muddling my way through it because I didn't really still know what I was doing. only the bits that I'd picked up. But for me, it was amazing because I could fault find without the stress and the pressures of recording a band, because it was my own band and it was free, and they were just buzzing to be in Rockfield. So it meant I could fault find, really figure out how the studio works, how the signal paths work, what was the best way for workflow, things like that, changing mics, setting things up. I could mess around with EQs. I mean, back then it was Total Recall on the desk, so I could EQ and change everything and then just put it back afterwards. But we did that for like the 14 months. So it really, really fast-tracked me into becoming an engineer, because I was just doing it all the time in this massive studio. So then there was those opportunities during the session when there was a few days here and there that I would work with other bands as well then. After the first year, I was kind of doing that already, after the completion of my apprenticeship.
So you've done this apprenticeship with Kingsley. What did you get at the what did you get at the end of that apprenticeship? What did Kingsley say? Did you get like a certificate, a pay rise?
I got a pay rise. So yeah, it was a year, and I was kind of like celebrating the first year, the completion of my first year. So I went in and I said, so that's me a year now. So do I get my certificate, or what's what happens now? What do I go on to now? And thinking I'd come off apprenticeship wages, go on to normal wages. And he was like, well, when I said apprenticeship, it's a Rockfield apprenticeship. So what you've had is, a Rockfield kind of experience for a year. You're already engineering. You've got to fast track to become an engineer. And well done, you're a fully qualified Rockfield engineer now, and you've passed your apprenticeship. So it's like, well, okay, so what are the wages now? Oh, it's the same wages, but okay, and he says they agreed to pay me £5 I got if I stayed in the nights after dinner. And I did anyway. I just stayed 24/7. So, I mean, it's just Stone Roses. Yeah. So, yeah, every night I stayed, I could get an extra £5 if I stayed after dinner. Plus, you got your dinner, which was nice. So, yeah, extra £35, so more than double my wages after the year. No certificate, but do you know what? It didn't. Qualifications didn't really matter at that point.
And I'd imagine though, if it was a certificate, Kings, he might have drawn it out for you. I remember doing a website for Kings. And he's like, he wanted me to design a website for the holiday lets. He's like, right, got the website, got it all drawn out, got it all designed. Here's a website design. Hands me a piece of paper with like some boxes and then like the writing of the website, what he wanted as a text. He's like, here's a design. It's just like,
yeah. Well, you got more than I did. Well, mind you, I got a pay rise. I got a pay rise, which was nice. But yeah, qualifications and all that. I mean. Yeah, when I started, as I say, on that first day, I just finished my exams. So, I hadn't really thought about those. And then I hadn't really thought about the apprenticeship, to be honest. This was going to be my life. This is where I felt really at home, and this is what I wanted to do in my life.
So over that time, obviously, you said at the start you had... so Stone Roses is effectively your second session. Mm-hmm. What happens on results day?
Yeah, so I guess it's in August, middle of August or whatever, and I think Ian Brown was sat there reading the paper, and it's got on the front page about the results days and the expected, usual stuff that happens every year. And he said, "Oh, Brown, isn't it your results day then as well? Have you got your GCSE results before you came in this morning?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." So, were you going to go and get them? I was like, no, not really. Don't think I need them now. I wasn't really bothered. This is what I was going to do. Didn't think the GCSEs would matter. Plus, I didn't drive, and the school was bloody miles away. So I was thinking, well, I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to cycle all the way up to the school to get my results. They'll probably get sent to my house or whatever at some point. Didn't really think about it. And he was like, no, come on, it's a big day. Results day's a big day. Come on, off we go. So off we go, get in their car, and Ian Brown takes me to my school. To get my GCSE results. And so he comes in with me. So he's like, yeah, I'm coming in. So he's coming in, he's got his big brown flares on, his black leather jacket, he's smoking a fag, and we go into the school, he's still smoking the fag. I'm dying thinking, oh my God. And all my mates and all the people I've been to school with who were there getting their results and hanging around, obviously all about to go out drinking for the day, they hadn't seen me for weeks because I just finished my exams and literally then started at Rockfield. I hadn't spoken to anyone the days before social media and mobile phones. So you're not going to sit there, get the phone book out and ring everyone you went to school with and tell them, not like now, you just put it on Facebook. So nobody knew. No one had seen me over the summer. No one knew what I was doing. And the next time they see me, it's walking into school and they're all going, is that Bruno? Is that Ian Brown? And he kind of got explained to everyone why you're now in school with Ian Brown. And it was back in the day when your results were on a kind of thing on the wall. So he just walks up to the thing and he's like, I'm busy talking to everyone. He goes, yeah, great, you passed. Come on, we're going to the pub. So I did pass all my GCSEs and off we went to the pub. And that was my GCSE results day. Not that they mattered to me really, and I've never needed them since.
Well, but you passed and you went to the pub.
Yeah. I had a lemonade, obviously, being only 16.
Yeah, Stone Roses' Second Coming finishes. You finish it, obviously, like Kingsley then, obviously, like I think he said he spent out some money and did it up, like Coach House. Yeah. And put new carpets in. Yeah. New sofa. Yeah. Is that still the same sofa that's there now, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. So the green ones went. I mean, they're the only kind of business that I know that can do up an entire venue and it look exactly the same afterwards. It's the same things, just new things, but they just fit in and look old. And it still looks the same. The studio pretty much looks the same as the day I walked in it. You know, there's a few bits have changed paint-wise and some of the material. But yeah, it's after the Stone Roses, obviously that was the resurgence of the studio. They'd been in kind of a bit of a dark period, and the Stone Roses come in really kind of catapulted them back into the limelight. And obviously it was such a massively anticipated album, such a huge album, and the explosion that was about to happen afterwards, Britpop, that meant that Rockfield was perfectly placed and primed and ready to go for that explosion, all because of the Stone Roses.
Did you stay on as like assistant? Did you move up to engineer then, obviously from your working with Simon?
Still working as assistant. I was engineering some sessions. Some would come in and like they couldn't afford like the producers who had done a lot of those records that were there, and like Simon and things, so they would use me because I'd been on there. They wanted to use someone associated with the Stone Roses session, so I would end up doing Manchester bands and on other sessions, and I was assisting for other amazing producers at the time as well, with lots of bands. And then so still working for Rockfield, and I stayed employed for Rockfield until I met Mr. Owen Morris, who kind of hit it off with, and I ended up going freelance to work on all his sessions.
How did you meet Owen? Was it just from work? Did he just come in and on a session?
He basically came in with Ash for 1977. So another amazing album, amazing guys. What a session that was! The 1977 session is one that will live with me forever. It's just amazing time. We're the same age. They were just straight out of school. They just finished their A-levels when they came. So we're the same age. So same age, same interest. And with Owen Morris at the helm, complete and utter nutter. So yeah, brilliant album, and obviously that album went on to become really successful. And then from then I had to go freelance to kind of work on all of Owen's sessions, which weren't always at Rockfield, but the majority of them were.
And were you coming back and doing sessions for Rockfield as well?
I was still really employed at Rockfield. It was just I was on a freelance basis as opposed to. I mean, I think at that point all the assistants became freelance rather than work for the studios. But I was still in Rockfield day in day out, unless I had to go and do something with Owen.
I think that's a really good place to leave it there for part one of this podcast. I think we're going to be picking this up now for the Britpop years with Nick in Rockfield and the other bands that he's worked with. Following on that then as well, be looking at obviously his time in Leaders Farm. And then the final stage is obviously like coming up to like present day Leaders Vale and the record label Flip Flop Records. What we'd really like obviously as a new podcast, we're still obviously trying to find our feet. Any feedback, any reviews and stuff, we'd be really appreciative if you could give us some feedback or let us know what you think. If you have any questions, you can do that on podcast@sessionrecall.com. What we'd also ask you to do, if you can, we'd really appreciate any reviews on the platforms that you listen to, just because that helps us in terms of like getting discovered as a new platform.